Welcome back, everybody. We are starting to become like Marvel, where people are saying, "Oh, they're back," and "Oh, they're not back," and "Oh, we're back." This time, we are genuinely back, and at least Brayden and I will definitely be on for at least I'd say 2 or 3 consecutive episodes. We have a lot of fun stuff coming up, especially as we've just entered the month of July. But as I said, it is just Brayden and I today. We don't have Mikey with us, which is unfortunate. He, of course, is very busy with his work, but then also there's a lot of family events going on for him. All positive things, nothing bad. But yeah, hopefully he'll be joining us in our next episode, which we are very excited for. We have a big event coming up for us on Tuesday of this week, and so we won't give anything away yet. But just make sure to stay tuned, per usual, here on Stay Tuned for what we got coming in store next. So again, July, big movie month,
Big movie month.
and so there's going to be a lot that we're going to be talking about coming up. But for today, we're kind of doing something a little bit original, a little bit not, kind of pushing a lot of different things together. But I wanted to give trilogy grades. So basically, a report card for a bunch of trilogies that we have mostly all seen. There's a few on here that I have not seen. There's a few on here that Brayden may have not seen. Some are comedies, some are more action related, stuff like that. Some are animated as well. I have 20 down here, so we're going to go from, I'm going to read them off. Each of us are going to give a separate grade, A, B, C, D, or F. So if you pretty much went to grade school, you understand. So, in this case, let's get started. The first trilogy I have is Back to the Future. Brayden, what's your grade?
This is an interesting one because it's very iconic, but I think the best one is the first, and they get slightly, I don't want to say worse, but less good in the other two. I would give this a solid B, though. The first one is just incredibly iconic all around.
All right, so solid B from Brayden. For me, I think I'm gonna give it a. I'm gonna go with a B plus, mainly because due to the fact that these movies are very like consecutively made. They're not consecutively released, but they made them in the 80s, and they made them. I think it was 81, 83, and 85. So they were all in a very short span of 4 years. They got them all done, which is very impressive from all of the actors and actresses, the directors, everything that comes to it, and especially the writers being able to come up with this concept where 1 and 2 are seen as some of the best movies ever made. 3, not so much, but still 3 holds for a lot of different people. So,
Right.
like you said, 3 sometimes isn't the greatest part, and so you
I
got to
actually
take that into
prefer
account
the
when you're
third
doing it.
movie over the second. I think the second movie is not that good, which I think is kind of a hot take amongst people who really cherish that franchise.
I was gonna say that's definitely a hotter take. I think that it is based off the release. I think it's 1 is 1, 2 is 2, 3 is 3. But 3 being 3 is not a bad thing. Number 3 is still really, really good.
Yeah, I have more
There's
fun
some
with
things
it.
in it that
I'm a
some
sucker
people
for
don't
the
love, but
I'm a sucker for the Western trope, so that doesn't help.
yeah,
But I just find it more believable with the story of, or not believable, but it's more entertaining for me than to follow the story of Biff with the second one with like this excessively unbelievable futuristic movie as opposed to all the other futuristic movies we get.
right, yeah. So our next trilogy we have on here is Toy Story. Now, me personally, if I'm giving this just based off of trilogy, which is meaning 3, that's the start of it. Try meaning
Yep,
3. This is an A plus.
I would
However,
agree wholeheartedly.
Toy Story 4 does exist, and we are getting Toy Story 5. So, if eventually we get a Toy Story 6, then I will split them. But in this case, I'm going to include Toy Story 4, and with that, the grade for it is going to be an A minus.
I would drop it all the way to a B plus. Toy Story 4 is a stinker, which is
Yeah.
I mean, we both agree that Toy Story 3 is a 10 out of 10 movie. It's like genuinely one of the greatest animated movies ever time. It's incredibly mature for
Yeah,
a kids movie.
and it can still
Um,
fly over
it's
someone's head.
so good. But
Yeah,
even Quentin Tarantino said it's like a
one of the best
phenomenal
movies.
movie. He
Yeah.
loves it. He loves that trilogy.
Hmm.
And then he has no desire to see the fourth. And I respect the heck out of him for it because why would you want to let yourself down like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've talked about it on the podcast before, but that is one of the things that we hate about franchises now that are doing this thing. I
Right.
just sent a post to you and Mikey about how Lucasfilm is now planning, at least planning. They didn't say anything is 100% confirmed, but they are planning to just reboot Indiana Jones entirely and not have Harrison Ford a part of it. Can we please stop doing that stuff? And this is the same thing with Toy Story 4. Going back, touching things, but the thing is, Toy Story 4, it made $1 billion. And it was the highest grossing Pixar movie until you had Inside Out 2. And so now they're making Toy Story 5. So it
Right.
doesn't knock it down as much for me because Toy Story 3 is so good that I can't get it out of the A category yet, but it's going to be at the bottom of the A.
I could definitely settle for that. It's just one of those things where like it's one of those franchises where they don't know when to end it. Where like Indiana Jones, like everybody agrees, like Kingdom Skull sucks, and
Yeah.
then Dial of Destiny comes out, and it's not the best of them, but everyone agrees it's better than Kingdom, so we will allow it. Um, but like the Mission Impossible movies, nobody's upset because they continue to get better and better, and then eventually like seven came out, and no, it's not the or eight came out, and it's not the best of them, but it's still good enough to be part of the franchise.
Right.
Um, I'm flipping a coin for everyone. I'm very distracted. I got a new ball marker for golf, and it's Detroit Lions, and so I've just been flipping it in my fingers over here, but I keep dropping it.
So the next trilogy we have, this one is now looking to that rule that I at least made for myself, and in this is that once you get enough to make two different trilogies, you can look at it differently. So in this case, I have Star Wars, the original trilogy, so 1977, 80, and 83, with A New Hope, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. What do we give it?
I'm giving it an A minus. A New Hope and Empire are fantastic, and then when you go back and rewatch Return of the Jedi, it's good as a kid, but then you watch it as you're older, and you're like,
Kind of
like there's some
drags.
plot points that don't entirely connect to the previous movies, and it does kind of drag. And there's like some great sequences, like all the stuff in the opening on Tatooine, but then later on there's some really strange parts. And then I've grown up to be one of the people who think Ewoks are annoying.
I have not. I don't think Ewoks are just, like super annoying. I think it's also because we only really see them in this movie, and then they're like kind of explored in like games and stuff. So we don't really see them a whole lot. So I don't really care. I don't love them, but I don't hate them either.
They're not
Um,
Jar Jar Binks annoying, but they are
yeah,
redundant to me.
I'm gonna give this an A. Return of the Jedi was the first Star Wars movie I ever watched. I don't know why. I was 6 years old, and I just remember Jabba the Hutt. I remember the green lightsaber from Luke.
Right.
I remember the fight scene at the end with Vader and Luke and Palpatine. So I think that's also like I would probably be with you with an A minus, but just because that's what I started with and that's your lowest one, it kind of knocks me up that extra minus point. Um, the next trilogy I have, one that I love, Cars.
I don't understand why critics hate Cars 2.
Thank you.
Cars 2
It's
is
a bop. It is a
it's
banger.
arguably the most fun Pixar movie that they ever made.
Yeah.
It's got nothing to do with racing in the grand scheme of things, but it's so fun. It's literally just a James Bond ripoff. Cars 3 is not great, but it's not bad. It just feels underwhelming in a sense.
Yeah.
And you can't exactly put your like finger on what it is. It's just like the
This was
general
also
story, I feel like.
This might be a controversial take of mine, but this was at that time. This I believe it was 2017 or 2018 when it released. It was around the time where movies were like moving toward or trying to push a message, and they weren't
Yeah.
doing it in a way that was secretive, and that you could always tell, like, okay, they're pushing this message, and that sometimes it was political, sometimes it wasn't. It was in that era that was like, it was a really weird time for
Right.
movies because they were just having a really hard time expressing that kind of stuff. And this was one of those movies that kind of got hit by that, was expressing new generations coming in, how people are to adjust to that, and then also not to bring it, and not saying that it's a negative thing, but they brought in the gender inequalities part with Cruz Ramirez and Lightning McQueen.
Right.
And so it was something that I think it struggled trying to ground, but it still did okay.
It's weird because looking back, like, that wasn't when short form media with TikTok and Instagram stuff and YouTube Shorts, like, that
Yeah.
hadn't become a thing yet. That wasn't even a thought because this
Yeah.
is 2 years before COVID. But yeah, it was like this weird time where like everything was very on the nose for movies for a younger audience. And then, granted, we probably were not the intended audience because
No.
it was definitely marketed to the kids who were our age when we saw Cars 1. But I mean, we still watched it and we were like, this is very, like, I want to say lazy writing. Like, it's just they focused more on that than a interesting story. It kind of went off the rails. I'm giving it like a it's somewhere between like a B and a B minus. The first one is great. The second one is not necessarily great but fun, and the third one is just utterly forgettable, but has one of the best posters of all time.
I'm gonna give it a B minus because Cars is a treasured movie of mine, and will forever be. But Cars 3 is not one I like to go back to. It's one I'll watch, and it's one that, it's still, I'd still rather watch that above like Brave and other
Yes.
Pixar movies. However, it still kind of hurts me a little deep down. So I'm giving it a B minus. The next trilogy, Indiana Jones. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but Indiana Jones. There's 5, 6,
There's 5.
5, and so
One
I'm gonna-
Disney and 4 pre-Disney.
yeah. So I'm gonna just say all 5 clumped together. What would you give it?
If it's just the first 3, I would easily say like an A minus. If I include the other 2, Kingdom is like it's not even just an okay movie, it's a bad movie. And then I enjoyed 90% of Dial of Destiny, so I would have to say B minus, but like it's I don't know. This is really tough because I really hold those first 3 movies in high regards, even though I don't go back and rewatch them a lot.
It's really hard.
But those last
but the
2
other, but the
really
last 2 are really
not
bad.
great. I gotta say B minus again, but like I would
Okay.
throw this above Cars, but like not by much. If we keep throwing things in the B minus category, like they're all gonna stack above this probably.
Yeah, and I would push this down to C if anything. For me, if I, like you said, the original 3, A minus all day.
They're
every
so
day.
great.
They are. Raiders is one of the most influential movies ever made. It honestly, to me, is what put Spielberg like really on the map. He had Jaws, but like this was like
This
can
was-
do everything kind of thing.
Jaws was something that like people compare it to, like people are still afraid to go into the water. So that was a cultural phenomenon. But like if you want to talk about a cinematic phenomenon, Raiders was beautifully shot. I mean, you had that skyline scene of the silhouettes when they're digging for the tomb. I mean, you have all the iconic moments of Harrison Ford having food poisoning, so he decides to improv the bit of shooting the Swordmaster. You have all those iconic bits with all the characters. It's so good. And then, yeah, like, the next 3 are also just great. Like, they touch
Yeah.
on the supernatural and the realistic without going too far. And then,
They
next
give us
thing you know...
Kihei Kwan.
Yeah, next thing you know, you have aliens and time travel in the last 2 movies, and it just goes out the window.
So if you clump in those last 2 movies, this moves down to a C plus for me, just because those 2 are so bad.
Yeah, I would definitely understand that.
Next one, I cannot give a grade. This is NA for me, but you can because you love this franchise. Lord of the Rings.
A plus. In my mind, this is the greatest trilogy of all time, without a doubt. You mentioned earlier the how quickly Back to the Future came out. These movies came out 01, 02, 03.
Yeah.
They just pumped them out. I mean, they have 4-hour cuts that are phenomenal movies for each of them. Everyone in the cast is amazing. I'm still waiting for the limited edition steelbook for The Return of the King to be reprinted so I can finish my trilogy collection. I genuinely cannot say enough good things about this franchise.
It is one that I still need to get to.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen many clips. I've been told multiple times, especially by you, but
You
by
will, you
many
would
other
love
people.
it.
Exactly. And the thing that hindered me in my past was that there was a rule with my family, which is known by a lot of my friends and family.
I had the
that,
same rule.
Exactly. That you could not watch a movie that was based off of a book until you read the book. But the rule was only applied to you when you lived in the house full time. Well, when I moved off to college, there were definitely a lot of movies like Hunger Games and more stuff like that that I decided to watch. Lord of the Rings is still one that I haven't gotten to. It's only been like 2 years since I went to
feel
college,
like that's
so
unfair for that specific franchise, though, because those
No.
books, I haven't even read those. I do have them; they're sitting on my shelf.
Yeah.
But like, I do want to read them. But they're supposed to be like very out there. The books are very different from the movies. But like, I
Yeah.
did the same thing. I had to read. I wasn't allowed to watch any of the Harry Potters or the Hunger Games, so I had to watch like each Harry Potter movie one at a time.
Yeah.
When I got to Deathly Hallows, my mom found the halfway point in the book where I could watch the first movie, so that way I could watch part one of Deathly Hallows.
Nice.
But yeah, that was one here you told me that I was like, that's a little excessive. I don't know any middle schooler who's reading Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, so Lord of the Rings was one of those ones that was applied to the rules. So still haven't gotten to it yet. Hopefully, I will at some point. But Brayden, you definitely give it that A+. You love this. The next franchise I have is the original Spider-Man, Tobey Maguire's 1, 2, and 3 Spider-Mans. Sam Raimi's directed. For me, 1 and 2 are not only culturally significant, but also cinematically significant because they were the first superhero movies of its kind. There were other superhero movies in the past. You had like Daredevil and Blade and stuff like that, but this was the first one to tackle the size of this character of Spider-Man, who then and now is one of, or if
arguably the face of Marvel.
The face of Marvel and the face of superheroes. Like, everybody loves Spider-Man. And so then when you go and tackle this character in film while also showing the amazing, spectacular side of Spider-Man, I think it does great. I'm going to give it an A-.
That is very wildly different from what I was going to give it. I'm going all the way down to like B to B-. I think Spider-Man 2 is great. We both argue with Mikey all the time about this, is that Spider-Man 2 is great, but there's so many other movies that do what it does better.
Agreed.
I think Spider-Man 1 is a wildly overrated but still good movie. I think people love it or hype it up way too much. I don't have a problem with them loving it.
I can see that.
I think there's a lot of it that's just wildly like overlooked, and then the third movie is just incredibly stupid for most of it. I cannot stand most of what goes into that, and I know that Sam Raimi has come out and said the studio made him do a bunch of stuff. Whether I believe him or not, it still is a kind of a stinker.
There's a part of me wants to believe him, but then I watch some of his other movies that he's done after that, and I'm like, did the studio really tell you to do this? Because this seems like something you definitely decided to do.
Right.
For me, I give it that A- just because, like, I remember watching these younger and, like, so it has that nostalgia bait to it for me, is that 1 and 2, like, I hold with me, like, a lot. Number 3,
Right.
I don't really remember because it was, like, what was it, 2008 when it came out?
Something like that.
And so, like, I didn't go to the theater to see it. I watched the 2 others before then, but, like, I hadn't gone to the theater, and then I didn't really watch it when it came to, like, TV or DVD because it wasn't something. So I didn't watch it until, like, 2015 or 16 or something.
I'm in the same boat. I grew up on the Andrew Garfield movies. That was my first Spider-Man. And so when I eventually got to see, like, Spider-Man 1, I had already seen TASM 1, and I was
You
like,
know,
this scene of him getting bit and then waking up muscular and not needing glasses is stupid because Andrew Garfield had like a full-on medical like panic attack,
transformation.
stroke, like everything,
Right.
and I just was like, that's so much better. And it's like then I have to watch him say like up and away web and all of this, and I was like, this
Yeah.
is really cringy
Yeah.
looking back on.
I now that you've kind of brought back a lot of the stuff that I'm like, oh right, yeah, that's true. So I'm gonna knock
Like
mine
they're
down to a
very
B
good
plus.
movies. Don't get me wrong. Like I just went back and rewatched, or not rewatched, but like sat down and watched for the first time the original Christopher Reeve Superman, and like obviously the CGI effects and there's wires that he's using to fly around is very noticeable. But that is a very good movie, and it's not super like cringeworthy for a lot of the stuff that's in it. Which that's I think the biggest thing when you make a superhero movie is how long can it stand the test of time.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna knock mine down to a B plus. The next trilogy is one that I can give grade on, but Brayden cannot. Brayden has not watched this yet, even though I've bugged him to numerous times. I think whenever I start watching Lord of the Rings, you're gonna start watching this, The Godfather. So you have do you have for all three, or is it just the first one or
I
two?
bought a 10. It was on sale at Target for $10, the entire trilogy on disc, and it's sitting on my bookshelf for a year, and I haven't touched it.
So and the thing is that I give defense to Brayden all the time. These are movies that you can't just turn on
Yes,
at
it's a
like
long movie.
8 p.m. and just like, oh yeah, I'll watch. It's not a casual watch. It's not a watch and then you can go straight to bed. Like you have to watch this at like midday. You have to you have to clear your schedule, watch the entire thing, and then once you watch it, then you gotta like digest it. And so
Which this is why I defend Joey because like especially the first Lord of the Rings movie, like there is so much where you just have to process information because they're just gonna
yeah,
give you all this lore and all this world building where it's like if you're not paying attention, you're not
you're
gonna know
not gonna get
somebody's
it.
name and it's gonna screw you over like for the rest of the movie.
Exactly. So in this case, hopefully at one point I'll get to Lord of the Rings. He'll get to Godfather. For my grade, this is an A. Godfather 1 is spectacular. It is one of my favorite movies to go back to. Then you have Godfather 2, which I don't think is better than the first one, but I do know a lot of people that believe it is. And honestly, I can respect the reason and why, but I personally don't. I think I just hold the first one a lot better. And the third one is fine. It's nothing like the first two, but it's still fine. So yeah, Godfather I give an A, and I would think that also with Lord of the Rings I would eventually give it an A, potentially an A plus. I think for you for Godfather it would come around like an A minus, maybe a B plus, because you
I'm
might
very
have a lot more
intrigued in
problems
them.
with Coda than I do.
I'm very intrigued by them. Like they do look interesting, but like I also genuinely know nothing about them. It's one of those movies I haven't seen that I've just never been spoiled on, so I don't know a single thing about
Yeah.
them. And so yeah, like I need to eventually get into them. I just every time I want to watch a movie, it's 10:30, and I'm like, I could watch this 3-hour movie about mobsters, or I could put on a 90-minute Transformer movie and fall asleep to that.
So the next trilogy I have is Rocky, which some people argue is 6 movies. I argue it's just 5.
I argue it's just 4.
Yeah, it's 5, but some people argue 6 because of the movie Rocky Balboa. I don't think that movie necessarily counts in Rocky. It is kind of its own
Good
thing.
movie.
So Rocky, I say we kind of just do 1, 2, 3, because 4 and 5 are very.
You don't like 4?
No, I love 4. I'm just saying 4 and 5. People like some people love 4. I know I love it, and I think
I
a lot
love
of people
4.
do. But then there's people I've met that hate 4,
I
which
think
I
those
don't
people
understand.
are crazy.
And then there's people that love 5 more than they love 4, even
That's
potentially
even
1.
crazier.
So
I actually don't know if I've seen 5. I think I've seen Balboa because Balboa is when he drops the "It's not about how hard you hit" line, right?
yeah,
That's that
he
one.
drops. Yeah,
I
that's that
think
one.
I've seen that one, and I think I just haven't seen 5 then. Um, I'm actually going to count this as a trilogy because I wholeheartedly treat Rocky 1 as 2 and 2 as like one movie where it's like I treat
Yeah,
it as a Kill Bill situation where it's one movie
right,
split in
right.
half
Yeah,
because it's the same storyline, but
yeah,
like obviously Rocky 1 like Sylvester Stallone was broke. He sold his dog so that way he could make this movie and had to buy it back or buy him back with the like profits that he made. Like he
Yeah.
was homeless for all of this and all this sorts of things. So like I think it's one long movie. So one, two, three, four, A. They're phenomenal movies. And they're short and they're simple, but like those are ones where the message is there and it's not super prominent, but the message is so good.
I have to go A. If it's all five, I'm still going A. If it's just the one, two, three, it's A plus. Even if you add four, it's A plus. The fifth one just brings it down for me a little bit because it's like it's the end of this big story, and they didn't nail it. They still, they hit it on the head, but it went to the left. It
Yeah.
didn't hit straight on. So I still
It's
give
also
it an
it was a pretty ahead of its time for like a lot of the messages it pushed about like
Yeah.
men's mental health and stuff and
Yeah.
like all that. Like very very ahead of its time looking back. And I don't think Sylvester gets enough credit for some of the things he puts into those old movies he makes. I think a lot of them get overlooked, like the first Rambo.
Did you say you give it an A plus or an A?
I'm giving it an A.
Okay. Alright. Cool. So you and I, that's the first one we agree on. Look at us. The next one I have, I don't remember how many there actually are. It's also dependent on what you count. Alien. Because there's Alien,
Aliens, Alien 3, Alien Resurrection, Prometheus, Alien Covenant, Alien Romulus. So
and would
how
you
many
count
just-
Alien versus Predator?
AVP I wouldn't count because there's two of those, but like they're not Predator movies, but they're not Alien movies. They're like kind
Yeah.
of in the middle of the Venn diagram.
Yeah.
So what did I say? Four, two
I
of
think
the
you said six.
two of the sequels, and then Romulus, so 7. I've not seen all of them.
I've seen Alien, Aliens, Alien Romulus.
That's all I've seen.
I think that's all I've seen as well.
I have not seen Alien 3 with David Fincher. I've not seen Resurrection, and then I've not seen the 2 prequels of Prometheus and Covenant.
All right, so let's just grade it off of what we've seen. Alien,
Of those
Aliens,
three,
and Alien Romulus.
It's a solid B. I need to go back and rewatch the first Alien
I
because
give it-
the first one is a slow burn for a while, but I think
Uh-huh.
I'd enjoy it a second time. I don't love the second one, even though everyone thinks that's phenomenal. It's just loud the whole time. There's a lot going on constantly. I hate the kid.
Yeah.
And then Romulus, I thought was really good at being its own thing, but also doing callbacks. But like, I love the practical effects and the suits that they made. There's a little stuff that I have problems with, but it's not a big problem. Like, I'd give it like a B minus for those
Right.
3. I think if we watched all the other ones, we would throw this somewhere in the C category, though.
Probably because from what I know, it's like Alien and Aliens is like the top. Romulus is also up there, and then
Yeah,
everything else is
everything
below it.
else. There are a lot of people who really enjoy Prometheus. They say that's one of the better ones as well.
Okay.
But then like Covenant is kind of a stinker.
Right.
So I don't know. I do eventually want to watch Prometheus.
So both of us give a B on that one. The second one in a row we agree on. That is halfway through. We've gone through 10. Thus far, my lowest rated one is Indiana Jones at C+, which includes all 5 of them. Your lowest one is a tie between Cars, Spider-Man, and Alien. You all rated B.
With a B. What did
Yeah.
I give Indiana Jones?
You gave it an you gave it a B minus with all 5. So that one's your lowest one.
You can probably drop that down to a C+. I think I'll agree with you. You've talked me
Yeah.
into that.
All right, so C plus for you. So that one would be your lowest Indiana Jones there. So the next 10 I have, there's a few of them that I know there's one that I don't know if you've watched all 3. So we'll
Okay.
get there. This one that I have, it's 4 movies. Despicable Me.
I've only seen the first 3. I haven't seen the
Okay,
fourth
you haven't
one.
seen the 4th. Okay.
The first 2 are. The first one is great. Mikey
Great.
and I saw it when it got re-released in theaters for like the summer showings. That one's a super nostalgia one.
Yeah.
The animation's so weird in that one if you look back.
It's
the second
very
one,
weird.
the second one is also really great.
Yeah.
Like again,
And the third one isn't bad.
it's not
still
bad.
Fine.
It's kind of forgettable, but it's kind of funny. But like you want to go back and talk about messages in kids movies. Those first two, great messages, but great movies. They're so funny. And then the fourth one I didn't watch, but I heard is not great.
It's not the worst. It's not the best either. I'm giving this an A minus. What did you give it again?
I would give it for those three an A minus.
Okay. Perfect. Look at us agreeing in a row for the third time. We need to switch it up. This next one, I think you and I we had a discussion about this the other day at work, and every time I think of this franchise, I just get giddy because I love it. Is the Ocean's trilogy?
We both agree that Ocean's 11 is a 10 out of 10.
Yep.
And then you're a little higher on 12 and 13 than I am. I still think they're good. I just don't think they're as good as you do.
Yeah, I'm definitely higher on them than you.
Because 12 to me is just like, I think I just need to go watch it again. But the first time I watched it, I was confused for like the vast majority of the time.
And your comment with the Julia Roberts meta thing.
Julia Roberts thing is so weird.
If you think about it too much, I wouldn't say it ruins it, but if you think about it too much, it like makes you think a little too much.
I liked it at first, and then I was like, this is really, really dumb because it feels like a cop out.
You know what? We'll find random ways to cut this back in. Maybe we'll just do it like this. Welcome back. We got cut off a little bit. I have brothers that are a little unruly sometimes. So, Ocean's franchise. Yeah, the Julia Roberts thing is very meta, and if you think about it too much, it just like gets a little too weird. But if you don't think about it, it kind of works. So it's one of those like if, ands, or buts.
Yeah. I don't love the Silver Fox thing. And then if I remember, the opening is when it's the opening movie or scene part where they're raising the building, right? That's not the end.
No, the very, very beginning opening is Rusty is coming home, and his girlfriend, which is the girl that we see with him the whole time, is describing his robbery he did like 2 days ago, and how like they're getting hair DNA back in like a few hours, so he like dips. But then the rest of that like beginning 10-15 minute is them cutting to the different characters where Terry Benedict is finding them and telling them that they owe him.
Right.
That's the beginning. Right. It's like that montage of them.
See, I forgot that was even part of the movie. That one, I just need to go back and rewatch it because I remember being very confused. Like the whole heist just didn't make sense to me the way they were doing it. I was like, well, why would you need to do this and why would you need to do that? Yeah. And I just don't love the Silver Fox thing. I just thought he was really weird, and I thought he was Matthew Lillard the whole time, so it threw me off.
Yeah, he's a little weird.
Ocean's 13 is actually really good, though, because it goes back to its roots from the original. It's really fun. The whole side plot in Mexico with them staging a revolution is really funny.
Yeah. I give this franchise an A+, this trilogy an A+. I love it.
I give it a B+.
Okay.
Just because I think, for me, Ocean's 12 just really tanks it. And then, like, 13 is good, and I would probably like it even more if I watched it again. Yeah.
This next one, this is where I don't know if you've actually watched these, and this is one that I was like, you know what, I'm going to pull it out, because why not? High School Musical.
Yes, but not because I went out and watched them, because I have younger sisters, so I watched it through the eyes of them.
That's the difference between you and I. I watch these because I actually really enjoy them.
By the time I grew up with Disney Channel and made the switch from like Nick Jr. to Disney Channel and Cartoon Network, that was past my time. Right. So I just didn't ever bother watching them because Zac Efron was lame and musicals were lame. I'm a cool kid. And so, yeah, I didn't watch them until, I don't know, maybe within the last 5 years. As I just don't care for the Disney Channel musical aspect. Yeah. If you're gonna do a musical, there are some that I enjoy. Those are not one of them. So it's like a C- for me. I just don't like them.
I really like the third one. The third one is the one that they theatrically made. The other ones are all like Disney Channel original movies. The second one
is I just have to say the second one also makes no sense to me. Like everything from them all working at like the kitchen and restaurant place to like
Yeah.
him dancing on the golf course to them doing like the baseball thing. Like none of it makes sense to me. It's so weird.
Everyone likes the second one just because it's literally like a bunch of just junk that they put together, and it like makes enough sense. Like they literally they used screwdrivers to put in a nail, and it like holds but not that well. And so it's one of those ones that like turn your brain off, watch this. It's about summer fun time with a bunch of kids that you really like and who sing well. It's
Yeah.
fine. But it is the worst one, and it shows. And the first one honestly doesn't hold up a lot. Like people say that it's one of the best ones that holds up. It really doesn't. The third
I
one
don't
for
even
me is what I really like because it's theatrical. Like people spent time to write this movie. They
Right.
spent money on it to make it good, and it like you can notice that, and so
I
that's why I really like it.
what
I
is
give
even
this
the
a B
story of
overall, and so with that, the third one really. The third one is where they're graduating.
Yeah, I only
It's
remember
their
the
senior year.
ending to that, like them going on the stage and doing that like meta, the thing we see on the cover where it's
Yeah,
like them jump. It's
yeah.
the only part of the movie I remember. I don't remember anything else about that movie, but I know I've seen it.
Gabriella gets like an early scholarship to Stanford, and so she. I probably shouldn't know this as much as I do, but I
No,
do.
please explain the entire plot in detail.
She gets to go back. She gets to go to college early, but then because she gets to go to college early, she has to miss prom and the play, and then she thinks that for her to move to college and like start that new part of her life, she has to leave Troy, and so it's like a
Okay.
it's like that. It's the typical high school thing of
Yeah.
we have to move on to go to college. So how are we going to take our friendships that we've made here and transfer them to our next part of our life? That's
I just don't remember like
kind
any of the music, any scene other than the last one. I just can't picture any of
my
it for some
my favorite
reason.
song from this entire franchise is the one they're on the roof of the school. It's Troy and Gabriella where he's asking her to go to prom. It's that dance scene.
I remember that.
The dance scene is weird because it's like, it's a bright, beautiful day here in Albuquerque, no clouds, just pure sun, and then like 3 minutes, not even three, like 2.5 minutes later, it's pouring down rain. What? But it's like Disney magic.
I'm pretty sure I just saw a thing about this. It's set in Albuquerque, but I think the entire thing is shot in Utah. All three movies.
Well, I know that they filmed at the actual.
Like I think the
East
golf
High
course is
in
at
Albuquerque.
is in Utah.
Yeah, no, it's in Utah. I know they filmed the scenes they did in the high school, at least for the first one, were the one that's in Albuquerque.
Okay.
But I think majority of everything else was Utah. You're correct.
Must be
Um,
cheap.
I think it was also because like they filmed it during like a school year, like a
Oh,
genuine
yeah, that
school
would
year.
probably help because they probably wanted to release it like during the school year, right as summer started.
Yeah, so they would like use the school on the weekends, but then everything else they filmed was in Utah, and so they only had to drive like however long. Anyways,
Interesting.
so I give it a B. You give it a C plus. Next one.
No, just to see.
Oh, just a C.
No, don't try and bump this up on me.
Oh, I thought you said C plus. My bad.
Maybe I did, but I don't mean it.
Night Night at the Museum.
First two movies bangers. Third movie, like I feel like there should have been a third movie, but I feel like they should have rewrote it. This was kind of a stinker in my eyes.
It was hard because they also like, I don't know if this was the first movie with Robin Williams' character after he passed.
Yes.
I don't remember if that like it just
Yeah, he wasn't in this one, I believe.
no
he was. He was in this one.
no well
But it
he
wasn't
was he was but he wasn't, but I'm saying I don't know if this was the first one where this was the first movie that Robin Williams was a part of after his death.
Oh.
Because if it is, that's why people like this movie because it made a good amount of money, and I think that's why because they filmed it when he was still alive. but then they
Yeah.
stopped filming, and then they had to change the story because like apparently it was supposed to involve him a lot more, and so
Right.
they had to change it because they couldn't keep him in it. They still
Ye-
kept him in it for basically the entire movie. He's still there, but
I was gonna say, but it's just it feels weird because like it was one thing like they went to DC and they went to like all these different the air and space and they went to the natural and the American history stuff and like that story was a little more with the magic-y stuff, but it was still kind of funny and good. And then the third one was just something was off about it. The whole caveman thing was really off, I think.
yeah, that really didn't help it. The thing for me, the first one is amazing. It's a
The
great
first
concept.
one's really good.
It's really good. It's really funny. It's a really fun movie. And the second one, it takes it and it's like, oh, okay, so the New York Natural History Museum, the big one that's in New York. Let's
Yeah.
go to the next biggest
Yeah,
museum
like
in the
they found
world.
a way to world build on museums, which I thought was
Yeah.
like it's so cool because it's like
That's what captivates you about it too.
because like not everyone's been to the Natural History Museum, so
Yeah.
like we don't all know that, but like everyone knows something about the Smithsonian for the most part. So like whether it's the air and space or like like the iconic paintings that they had where he jumps into
Yeah.
like the World War II one
Yep.
or like all that stuff. Like there's something to love about it, or like even when they just make like Oscar the Grouch and Darth Vader cameo, like it was things
Yeah.
like that that were really good.
Yeah, so I would give this. It's hard because like so many of these movies, it's like, oh well, the first one's like great, so, and like I would give it an A, but the other two are like not that great. I'm gonna give this a B minus.
I think I'd agree with you.
Yeah, because the third one is like it's fine. It's a good way to conclude it, but it's also like not fine at the same time. So,
Like I wanted a third one, I just wanted a different one.
yeah, differently. Yeah. The next trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy, Christopher Nolan's Batman.
A minus in my eyes.
A minus. All right. Dark Knight, A plus
Awesome.
movie.
Yep.
Batman Begins, I'd say is an A minus movie.
It's underrated looking back.
It's underrated. It's still very good. It's a great origin.
It's taken
and
for
it's-
granted a lot.
Yeah. And then The Dark Knight Rises, it balance it
Yeah.
wavers with me because I think it's some of the best endings of movies ever.
Yes.
The way that it ends. But the way it gets there
Is
is
not
kind of
great.
rough. Yeah, it's kind of rough.
I love the Bruce Wayne goes into hiding because like when I was younger and I first watched this, like I didn't really get the end of the Dark Knight, like the whole Joker wins, and I just like I was a kid, I didn't understand
Yeah.
what all of that meant.
What
I was
just
just there
happened.
for Batman mostly, and then like so when I was watching it, and I'm like, oh, Bruce Wayne's old and he's like in hiding and all this. Like I just didn't understand anything that was going on when I was younger.
Yeah.
But like looking back, it's really good. Tom Hardy's awesome, obviously, as Bane. I think he's like super menacing. Okay. And then like I love the way he like exposes Gary Oldman's speech that he was going to tell about exposing the truth.
Yeah.
But then like the rest of the story of Bane's like he wasn't the kid that escaped from the pit, the chick was. But like
Yeah.
but then like controversially like I thought Anne Hathaway's Catwoman was a very good Catwoman for that universe, but then like the whole Bane story was just so weird, and then like bringing it back to Liam Neeson once again was kind of weird.
Yeah. It's rough. I think I'll meet you with A minus because like The Dark Knight Rises is really like it's fun, but then you think about it and it's like this is kind of rough. So I'll agree with you with A minus. Next, Hangover, the Hangover trilogy. The first one is a banger.
The first one is a banger.
It's an A plus. The second one is kind of rough.
It's like a C plus in my eyes. don't love
I think I'm gonna go with a C here.
I cannot fully remember the third one. I just remember it not.
Yeah, I can't.
I just don't believe it earning the title of a Hangover movie. They just labeled it as that for selling movie tickets. I think it's like a C, just because like the second two are not nearly as good enough for the first
Right.
one.
You give it a C as well.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one. This one, this is another one that I know I've watched all three. I I think there's only 3. I'm pretty sure you have Austin Powers.
I've not seen any of them actually.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, so another NA for you. But I thought you at least watched one. They're
I've
really
seen
funny.
bits and pieces of them. When we have like old school Voodoo Fandango, so like they gave us a bunch of free random movies. So I have like Blade 2 and A Knight's Tale that I can watch for free. And I think which one is it? They gave us one of them, and I just never watched it. I think it's A Spy Who Shagged Me.
Yeah.
Is that the one with Beyonce?
No, that one's Golden something. That one's the first one, The Spy That Shagged Me.
Is that Goldmember? Is that what they call it?
Yes, Goldmember. Yeah, I think so. The first one is really funny, and it's a good like original idea. But then like that was where it was like, all right, cool, great job, you made a really good comedy, leave it alone. And then they just kept going, and it's like, yeah,
I do want to watch
you're
them.
pulling at it.
Yeah,
I give it a C-.
I love Monty Python and that style of like British humor. I love like Airplane, and I need to watch The Naked Guns because I do love that style of humor.
Yeah.
I just haven't got around to it.
Next trilogy, the Captain America trilogy: First Avenger, Winter Soldier, Civil War.
So I'm assuming we're not including Brave New World because I feel like that's technically it's Captain America, but it's a different Captain America.
It's I'm not, because that I don't think that is justice to either of these movies. It's not justice to Brave New World because you're trying to compare it to these movies, and then it's not fair to add that to these movies.
I think that's a great way to put it.
So,
this is a solid A because
yeah,
Winter Soldier and Civil War. I think Civil War is the best MCU movie. It's not only the best in my eyes, but it's my favorite. Winter Soldier is awesome, and then same thing with Batman Beyond. I think First Avenger is a very overlooked origin story.
First Avenger is very much overlooked. I just recently watched that. That's what I watched for 4th of July. It's actually what I did for 4th of July because I worked. So that's what I watched. It's an underrated, and I think it's underrated because like it goes by quickly. Like they don't really waste any time.
Yeah.
Like it's like, all right, here's Steve Rogers. He can enlist. He wants to enlist. There's this program. They're trying to help him out. So they get him in. They do the thing. He becomes Captain America. Then there's like a whole montage of him fighting, and then it gives you that final. It goes by quick. It doesn't feel like it's a.
He loses Bucky. We quickly move on from that.
Yeah, like we don't soak in everything, and I think that's what the Marvel has lost its magic with, is that they're trying to overdevelop everything, which hopefully they start to rein in. I also agree with you, giving that an A. Civil War, a lot of people say is Avengers 3.5. I think it's
I feel like that's
more
a compliment,
towards it.
Though.
I think it is
like
a compliment
to call it that.
And I think it's started shifting outside of that. People have kind of seen it as, no, it actually is Civil War. That's why it's called Civil War, is that Iron Man is not a hero. He is not an Avenger at this, like, he is the antagonist. He is the quote-unquote villain, even though he's not.
Right.
And it's a good take on it. So,
and I think part of that is one of the few positive things that came out of Falcon and Winter Soldier is like people appreciate Zemo as a villain more from Civil War. Because I remember seeing that in theaters and being like, oh, this movie was awesome when I was a kid back in 2016. But then like now, like it's a super dark movie. It's literally just like, how realistic can we make, like, it's literally a terrorist attack on the United Nations.
Yeah.
And then instead of sending like the international police after them, like we send superheroes, and the villain is framing a super abled person for this terrorist attack, and so it's just enhanced individuals fight. It's really, really dark, and that's why I love it.
Yeah.
And then like just when you think everything is saved, like it's almost Joker-esque, where he's got that ace up his sleeve at the very end to make sure that like everything goes according to plan.
Yeah. The next one I have, How to Train Your Dragon, not including the live action that has came out, because we're pretty confident that's going to become its own trilogy. So just the animated 1, 2, and 3.
Never saw Hidden World. First one is a banger, but it's the same thing as Despicable Me. Really old animation.
Yeah.
Looking back, but it's still very good. The second one, again, animation quality jumps up super high, super mature story, great message that it pushes without pushing it too hard. love that one, need that one in live action. So for those two, I would say that's like a B plus A minus. Those are awesome movies.
I'm giving it an A minus just because I think the first one is a 4.5. I think the relationship building with Toothless and Hiccup is just pure magic. Test Drive is one of the best scenes in animation, one of the best scenes in movies, one of the best scores in movies. Then you go to How to Train Your Dragon 2, where you reunite a family and take it away. That, and it is just like you are like, oh my gosh, this is so sweet, and you're like,
Yeah.
what?
And you expand on everything that you already knew so much. I lost you for a second.
And then for the third one, it's not at the level of the other ones, but it's a solid B plus, so I give it the A minus for overall.
I think the main thing is you said score, and like the score is so good because when you actually take the chance to put a good soundtrack or score together for an animated movie, it elevates it insanely. We could see that in the Toy Story movies where like they build a soundtrack and a score for. I lost him.
No, I agree with you that soundtracks help make movies 10 times better, and so
Yeah.
I think for How to Train Your Dragon, it really.
Yeah, another side little change. I just saw an interview for the new Superman movie, and James Gunn was asked, since this is the first time really he's made a big movie for superheroes, but he's using a score instead of a soundtrack. Like, what was the big challenges was that? And he was like, oh, it's everything. Like, it's everything to a movie. He was like, that's why I made, like, I just wanted to use basically the John Williams score and just modernize it. Like, I couldn't recreate a Superman theme other than that, but I had to put my own spin on it. And he was like, and it's so much harder than the Guardian stuff because, like, you have songs in mind when you're filming those scenes or whatever.
Yeah. So my next one, which a lot of scenes are built on music, and the final one that I have for this episode is Avengers.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Guardians of the Galaxy.
No, Avengers.
I'm going to give that an A minus.
Okay.
Looking back at it, because I've seen all of these relatively recently, Avengers 1 is very good, but it's kind of in that first Avenger thing where they just constantly keep the ball rolling because we didn't get a Hawkeye introduction in Thor, really, and then we didn't really get a Black Widow introduction in Iron Man 2, even though they were both in it. And then none of these people have met each other. So we have to hurry up and get all these people to meet each other. We have to find a common ground for them to agree to fight on. And then we have to do it all in 2 hours. And so I think they do it very, very well. I think it's great. I just don't think it's the best. Age of Ultron is them trying to make... I would say this is their first attempt on a mature storyline, if I can remember, aside from Iron Man 1.
Iron Man 3 has a mature one with the anxiety attacks and
it's
stuff.
pretty...
And
that one's pretty mature.
So, but that one was before that.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But then you have, like... I mean, Ultron is just this incredibly menacing villain. I am a huge Age of Ultron defender. I love that movie
I'm with you.
with all of my heart.
Yeah.
It's my favorite of the Avengers movies. And I think there are definitely some problems with it, and I'm not blind to that. But there's that. Infinity War is awesome. And then Endgame, seeing that movie out of theaters for the first time, I was like, boy, this is there's some issues with this one I have.
Yeah. I'm with you on A minus. I think the Avengers is... I think that one is... I'd like that one more than Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron, I think, is my least favorite out of all the Avengers, but it's not like... It's still in my top... I think it's still in my top 10 of Marvel. Mm-hmm. So, it's still up there. Infinity War is my number 1 of Marvel. I think it is their best movie. However, it's not my favorite. And then Endgame, I mean, the Portals music scene is just...
That's one of those things where
good.
it's like... The Portals is so good when you're in theaters, and then you watch it out of theaters, and you're like, it's a little cheesy, and then like they drag it out a good bit to
Yeah.
the point where it becomes even more cheesy, but like you still love it for what it is.
And for everything that Endgame concludes, especially
Hmm.
my favorite character in Iron Man, I definitely would give it that bump in the A minus. Was there any other trilogy that you were thinking of that you wanted to like give a quick grade to or anything?
I had one earlier that wasn't Guardians that I thought for sure you were going to bring up, but I can't remember. I thought you might bring up the Michael Bay Transformers trilogy with Shia LaBeouf. I thought you might bring up
I would give that
the.
like a B.
I would give it like a C plus because like they're not objectively great, but they're stupid fun.
Yeah.
Um, there were a couple others that I thought you might bring up. I thought you were definitely going to bring up the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy with the original
Yeah.
trio. One of the best trilogies out there, in my opinion. That's an
Agreed.
solid A1 for me. Those movies are so
I would
good.
give it an A minus. There was a few. There was one, or there were two. I'll just call them franchises because they're not. There's not really trilogies for them because they're continuing
Right.
stories continuously.
Like John
Is
Wick, I thought you might have mentioned.
that was one that I realized halfway through. I was like, dang, I probably should have mentioned John Wick. Mission Impossible, and Fast and Furious
There's
franchises.
8 and 10 of those though, so it's
Yeah,
like
if they're not necessarily trilogies though. Also, because like if I were to say, okay, the first trilogy of Fast and Furious, it's the Fast and the Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious, and then Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift,
right.
and they all have like nothing to do with each other. So then
Yeah.
it would automatically be like an F. But if you were to take 4, 5, and 6, I mean, they kind of have a continuous story, kind of not, but they're not the best out
More
of their
so,
franchise.
but like, yeah, 4 and 6 aren't necessarily fantastic, but like 5 is arguably the best one.
yeah.
So it's
So
like you kind
for
of do that, and then it's
for
like the
Mission
same thing.
Impossible, I've never watched. You have. If
I
you were to
couldn't.
give it a grade overall for all 8 of them, what would
It's easily
easily continues to think of?
well. I was gonna say A minus, but then I was also gonna say B plus. Like like it is genuinely so good, but then
Yeah.
like you think of number two, and like number two is kind of a stinker, but and then you think of like the last one was like it was good, but it also was like very exposition heavy, but it's also got like some of the best action sequences ever made. So I would say that's it's a B plus, but it's also like the greatest action franchise ever made.
Yeah.
Um,
Fast and Furious, I honestly I would say is a C, because you have the Fast and the Furious, which is an amazing
Banger
first off
movie.
movie. You would think they would leave it alone, but then they continued. You
Mhm.
have Too Fast, Too Furious, which is worse than that. You have Tokyo
It's-
Drift that
I-
has
I
nothing to
love-
do with basically anything.
I love Tokyo Drift because I love Han and I love the.
Yeah.
I just love the story they came up with it, but a lot of people don't like Tokyo Drift, and I do understand that.
Yeah, and then you have
4 is kind of a stinker because that's
Yeah.
the one with Gal Gadot, and I don't like that, and I don't understand what's going on for most of the movie. 5
that's
is
Fast
awesome.
and Furious. Then you have Fast 5. Then you
Awesome.
have
Furious 6. No, Fast.
No,
and,
it's
Fast
it's
and Furious
Fast
6.
and Furious 6. Then it's
Furious 7.
7, Fate of the Furious, F9,
F9,
and then Fast X.
And now they're gonna make the 11th, where they're gonna AI Paul Walker into the
Yeah.
movie,
Yeah.
which I mean,
And bring him back to the
like,
streets of LA.
I think it's a terrible idea to do that. Like we all remember, if anyone who kind of kept up with like pop culture, like the amount of hell Vin Diesel went through when Paul Walker died, and like
Yeah.
the speeches he gave. He show up to Paul Walker's daughter and walked her down the aisle for
Yeah.
the wedding.
Yeah.
Like why would you be like? And then did you see the where he was announcing that they were doing it? He's at like
Yeah.
he's at like a club. He's up on
Yeah.
stage and he's like, and we're gonna bring back Brian. Woo! And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, it made no sense. It felt like super disrespectful. And
Yeah.
it's just also a bad idea.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a lot of other trilogies we could have covered in this
Mm-hmm.
episode here. Maybe we'll bring it back with Mikey. We might, cover some other ground. I think
Matrix.
these are ones though that like
Jurassic
you and I
Park.
have definitely both seen, or are ones that we haven't seen but the other loves them.
The Jurassics. That's what I thought you were gonna bring up. You didn't bring up either Jurassic 1.
Yeah, I decided to wait on that because with the new one coming out and everything, I figured we'd talk about it at some point. I know you've seen it. I have not gone to it yet. So hopefully we'll get around to it at some point. We definitely have 2 episodes in mind for 2 very important superhero movies coming out. If you do not know the knot I'm saying, then get out of the rock you're living under. Other than that, we got a lot more fun stuff planned. The only thing I will say right now is that we might just be Brayden and I for a lot of some other episodes. Not that Mikey's kicked out, not that Mikey's not going to be a part of this anymore. It's just he is very busy, and we still want to continue this. So he will be on every now and then, but he might not be as consistently as Brayden and I.
He will hopefully be back for the next episode.
Yeah, we're hoping he'll be back.
We have previously mentioned it, but if you didn't pay attention, be on the lookout on our TikTok page very soon, because we will definitely be preemptively posting another announcement video for that. Yeah.
So thank you everybody for watching and staying tuned with us. Thank you for everything that you've done and being able to watch and be in with our mess of being back and not being back and being Marvel again. But yeah, you got any final comments, Brayden?
Check out our links in the description that aren't really links because YouTube won't let us. Follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Check us out on Letterboxd. Get your own Letterboxd and follow us.
I'm on a goal to break 130 movies this year. That's what I got to last year. I want to break that.
I hit 300 last year. I am not going to try and break that.
I'm not going to make you do that.
Yeah.
What's your goal? Do you have a goal that you want to hit?
No, because it was more so TV shows that I wanted to do. I wanted to get through a couple series. So I want to finish The Walking Dead. I just binged the crap out of all of How I Met Your Mother. I'm kind of watching a couple different things. So it's mostly just TV-ish stuff.
Sweetness. Alrighty, well, thank you all for staying tuned, and we will see you later.